Power creeps in Boruto don't make sense. Power creep or power cliffing just means how the progression of a story, people become so much more powerful or stronger to where previous threats are trivialized or surpassed within the very next arc even. This is typically done with training or even gifted power-ups, and usually they do make sense. But in Boruto, they don't. Is what you probably thought I would say given how popular that dishonest and misinformed opinion is. I think many people want to believe that's true, not only to push the agenda that Boruto is doing something bad, but because they can't handle that their favorite characters aren't going to be at the pinnacle of strength or the strongest forever. It's almost like a bias that they just can't give up. They just can't handle that Naruto, Madara, Sasuke, Kaguya, Hashirama, all of their favorite characters are being surpassed, even though it makes sense. I'll elaborate. Firstly, let's get something out of the way. Stop trying to cap characters at a place just because you personally don't think that they should be that strong. That's just illogical and biased, and only feeds the narrative that you're immature. Don't say it's unbelievable as well with no evidence, because this summed up training just makes you stronger, and you don't know anyone's limits or caps unless the author states so. To say that they can't be something, you would have no argument against this. Now that that's established, I'll elaborate further. Let's compare this to other battle shonen such as Jujutsu Kaisen, Dragon Ball, or even Bleach. Something that's pretty common within all of these manga and anime is that throughout the arcs, characters train, and that's typically the justification besides outside power-ups that, they have become so much more stronger that they can completely decimate previous threats, or they can fight people who are stronger than the previous threats that they were losing to within the previous arcs. That typically suffices within every single manga but Boruto, which also kind of goes back to the reason that, people are just finding a reason to hate on something just because they dislike it and just because they don't want it to be good. Because there's no reason as to why this should suffice in every single other manga, but once it gets to Boruto, it's just, I don't buy it. Oh, they trained? Oh, it's
No,
stated? I
don't
don't
like
buy it. I
that.
don't like it. In the previous Jujutsu Kaisen chapters, it's shown that Yuji Itadori has reverse curse technique. We know that they probably trained over the 1-month break between the Gojo and Sukuna battle, because we see Kusakabe and Yuji training with this new curse technique that we presume, and people use that as justification. Oh, he trained, this makes sense. I agree, this does make sense because Yuji has high potential, Yuji is trained, therefore he unlocked a new power, curse technique, and reverse curse technique. And you don't see anyone saying, oh, I don't buy it, I don't care if they train, he can't become this level, he can't do this, he can't do this. Why? Because Jujutsu Kaisen isn't one of the most popular hated on manga. But when it comes to Boruto, they say, oh, Boruto is trained, and everyone's going, oh, why is he so powerful? Why is he surpassed this? It's too fast. While Yuji took a month to become dramatically stronger, Boruto takes 2 to 3 years, and it's a big issue. Now, getting on with the actual topic and video, the new generation is always stated to surpass the old. This is one of the concepts that's explored in Naruto a lot. We see this with Naruto surpassing Kakashi with the Rasen Shuriken. We see him also surpassing Jiraiya with Sage Mode versus Pain, and we even see him surpassing Hashirama and the previous generation completely when he gets 6 past Sage Mode, or if you want to say he did it when he combined the Susanoo with the Nine Tails versus Jubito, you can also say right there he surpassed Hashirama as well. Given how that concept is explored with multiple characters in Naruto, you would think that Naruto fans and Boruto fans would just accept that training potential and just the newer generation surpassing the old, it's pretty just set in stone. But no, many fans accept this, but once it becomes to Boruto, it's like, okay, well, it took a very long time for Hashirama to get surpassed. It took a very long time for Madara to get surpassed. It took a very long time for all of these people to get surpassed. And that right there just goes against the whole narrative that's set in Naruto. No, that's not true either. While it did take a very long time, to surpass Hashirama and Madara, I'm thinking upwards to anywhere from, 100 plus years to 90 years, give or take, whatever, right? They were first surpassed with Naruto and Sasuke. Those were the first shinobi, and I guess if you want to count Jubito, he's not really a shinobi anymore. He's more like ascended to this godhood of surpassing them, but still, nonetheless, it took more than 50 years to do this. That doesn't really go against, the pre-established narrative that the newer generation always surpassed the old, because these are just anomalies, right? And what an anomaly is something that drifts away from the norm, or something that is out of the norm that doesn't really go against or debunk that it is the normal route to go. It's just something that doesn't follow this rule because of X, Y, and Z. So basically an exception. And the X, Y, and Z in this example is because, Madara, he was able to obtain Hashirama cells through cheating when Izanagi and Genjutsu. He was able to also obtain the Rinnegan, and him being a reincarnate of one of the Sage's six path sons helped out quite a bit with his potential and power. The same goes for Hashirama, as he is like a duality with Madara, and he is the other half, that being the reincarnate of Ashura. So giving them these boosts that people aren't typically granted, of course, would just bypass this, oh, normal shinobi surpasses the other ones because they're able to train and get much more powerful. It might take people just a little longer to surpass people like Madara and Hashi, which is understandable because, again, those boosts just typically aren't granted. It also just doesn't help that Madara had access to the strongest tailed beast and Hashirama trained to unlock and become a perfect sage. Things that, of course, normal people have access to, but sage training is just so hard and tedious, many people, I guess, don't go through it. But again, them taking longer to surpass Madara doesn't mean that this gets rid of the rules. Now that we've gotten the anomalies out of the way, let's go over someone like Kakashi. He's not really that exceptional. He is a very talented ninja, and he is very strong in his own right, but that is because of his training and him having unlocked the Sharingan. But even once he loses the Sharingan, he's able to make jutsu far more powerful than anything that he was able to conjure up with his normal Sharingan. This, of course, being the purple lightning. So using the example that, oh, the Sharingan carried him doesn't really make sense. He's able to fight threats with almost zero chakra. He's able to go entire wars spamming Sharingan jutsu without the chakra reserves and soul of an Uchiha, which puts a drastic strain on the body. Sasuke even says something along those lines that, oh, he's not an Uchiha, he can't really handle that eye. But Kakashi was able to surpass people like Kage, he was able to surpass people like Hiruzen, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, who has access to Sage Jutsu, and normal people such as the Raikage, Anoki, they're all able to compete with people like Tsunade and Jiraiya, even though they don't have access to Sage Transformation or the Byakugo Seal, and they're also able to compete with threats as great as Sasuke with his Mangekyo Sharingan, right? Sasuke with his Mangekyo Sharingan was by no means weak, and while not at his strongest, he was still able to compete with people like Danzo, even though when he came into contact with the Raikage, though he was slightly weaker due to his progression of the Susanoo not being that crazy, but Raikage got in and just absolutely decimated him. And the Raikage has nothing special about him. He has Biju levels of chakra due to him training and getting stronger on his own and with his own potential. Sasuke has Uchiha genes, he's a reincarnate of Indra, and he also just has the Mangekyo Sharingan. None of those aided in the battle against the Raikage because due to him just training and his raw potential, not being from a special clan or anything, he's able to overcome all of these gifts that Sasuke had. That's just one example of that happening, but kind of going back on the, new generation always surpasses the old. I would like to say that doesn't mean that the entire generation or the entire new generation would surpass modern Hashirama, because that's not even true in Boruto. People like Chocho, Shikadai, Inojin, all of them aren't even stronger than Jubito, and they're not close to the top tiers of the Naruto verse, no matter what people would want you to think. Because people have this common misconception that in Boruto, everyone's just stronger than Madara. Base Boruto at the beginning of the manga would just one-shot Madara when that, again, just isn't true. The actual people who are stronger than Madara are the people who have crazy potential and also access to other gifts, such as Boruto, Kawaki, Sarada, and Mitsuki. In the case of Kawaki and Boruto, it's pretty easy to explain. These people are 100% Otsutsuki-fied. They have karma, and Boruto not only just has access to Naruto's chakra and Hinata's chakra, due to being their son, he also just has access to all of the knowledge and power granted to him due to training under Sasuke for a whole year. Sasuke being someone who's an Indra reincarnate, has Mangekyo Sharingan, and has been training for like 30 years. But just simply saying, he has the DNA of the gods of the Narutoverse should suffice as reasoning for him being that powerful, right? Kawaki has the DNA of the strongest Otsutsuki, has his dojutsu and abilities, and someone like Sarada has six path chakra, or should have six path chakra due to being the offspring of Sasuke, as well as the potential of him and Sakura. The new generation in Boruto are all stated to have crazy potential, especially over their parents due to just being a conglomerate of all of their talents, genes, and chakra. Sarada also unlocked the Mangekyo Sharingan very young, and training with people like Kawaki and Boruto, as well as having teachings and learnings from Sasuke, pushed her to even be able to take out Kara Inners almost alone. She's able to blitz and one-shot Boro's core, something that Boruto, Kawaki, or anyone couldn't do previously, just having a simple Sharingan and Chidori. something when her father had a simple Sharingan in Chidori, he was still struggling with Gaara, the first tailed beast. It just kind of goes to show all of the power that Sasuke was able to grab and get hold of at Shippuden got really passed down to his daughter, giving her way more potential than anyone else. Mitsuki is kind of different because he's not a child in the sense that he was born normally. He's more or less made in a lab by Orochimaru, and he has one of the strongest sage modes in the series. He's not a dragon sage like Kabuto, he's a snake sage, but he's able to spawn these chakra-made snakes and have chakra so powerful that it just kind of breaks apart and destroys this lab-made extra tough body. So Orochimaru can pretty much give him whatever he wants, right? Him being pretty much a walking scientific ninja tool in the sense that he's completely modified just puts him above the rest. Kawaki's body also is 100% scientific ninja tool, which gives him a bit of more boost. I forgot to mention that in his portion, but that just adds on to his potential. So summed up, the new generation, or these four that I mentioned, just have crazy potential from their parents, crazy chakra from their parents, and overall just have to get stronger due to fighting greater threats and training with greater people. Naruto and Sasuke, as younglings, did not have access to train with adult Naruto and adult Sasuke, people who's fought the strongest threats and figured out basically the secrets of the world due to training and being underlings of some of the great minds of ever in the Naruto universe. Now, if you remember, I said not everyone in the generation has surpassed Madara or will surpass Madara, and those were basically like your Chochos, your Shikadais, your Enojins. These are people that don't really have showings and aren't really as powerful, don't really have that much as powerful parents as someone like Boruto and Sarada, and also don't have access to the genetics of Mitsuki or Kawaki, who has Ishiki's DNA within them. So you're probably thinking, well, oh, if they become stronger than Madara or Hashirama or Kaguya, it's kind of BS because like you just said, you know, they aren't stronger right now. They don't have crazy parents. It's just like whatever, they're going to be useless forever. Well, that's not true. Not only do they just have more potential than their parents, and their parents are part of the Konoha 11, most if not all of them, which, while not as strong as, you know, Naruto, Sasuke, or Sakura, they're still strong in their own right. Most of them can fight threats like Katsuki members, people who are able to take out Biju. Like, we even have Tenten with the ninja tools able to take out some of Kakazu's hearts, right? The Konoha 11 is nothing to push over, especially that they have been training into their adulthood while they're in their 30 plus. So basically 16 to 20 years after Naruto ended, they're still training, honing their skills, and still just overall have the power that they did hold back in the war, minimum. So that doesn't really get you to Madara's level though, right? But like I mentioned previously, Madara's level and just the level of gifted people who have gifts and talent just from being part of crazy clans and a crazy heritage, it doesn't mean they can't be surpassed. People like the Raikage, people like Tsunade, people like Orochimaru, people like Kabuto, a bunch of different examples in the ninja world are able to overcome Uchiha, Senju, and Uzumaki just with sheer training and potential alone. We even have in the Boruto era, people like Shikamaru, Kuretsuchi, Darui, and even Chojuro are able to fight and kind of battle with Otsutsuki's, and Shikamaru is able to hold them down with shadow possession due to just training throughout the blank period. Their potential was just so great that training alone made them able to pseudo-compete with people who can damage and fight Naruto and Sasuke. Now, of course, they can, well, they haven't so far overcame these threats. Kinshiki and Momoshiki kind of beat around the Kage, and Shikamaru couldn't really hold them in shadow possession. But even being within the same tier or world as these people and having shadow possession even make Kenshiki struggle is a feat alone. So Shikamaru's son inherited all of that potential plus the training for greater threats like Otsutsuki's and like since Boruto is public enemy #1 like Boruto. Given how chakra is a bit of mental energy and the mindset of a shinobi kind of matters a lot within the fight, them having the mindset to reach these heights and greater heights than what anyone in the ninja world has ever dealt with kind of propels their power as well. Another big example of someone who's, he's part of a clan, but is known as pretty powerful due to a select few members. Not because any genetics that he's passing on that gives people an inherent boost, and that is Hiruzen. Hiruzen Sarutobi, he was able to become the strongest of the 5 Kage of his time, of course, and some even think he surpassed Hashirama. If you think he surpassed Hashirama or if you don't, doesn't really matter. Right? If you do, it kind of just fuels the new generation always surpasses the old narrative. If you don't, he was still stronger than all of the 5 Kage and everyone within the Leaf Village, so it still puts him there. He was able to master all 5 nature transformations. He had made his own jutsus. He was able to even fight Edo, Tobirama, and Hashirama at the same time, feeling them back in and dealing with Orochimaru all at once. As an old man while on his deathbed and cutting his lifespan in half with shadow clones. That's just the tip of the iceberg of the feats that this guy, as an old and crippled man, basically did. That's all while not having access to the vitality that the Uzumaki grants you, not having any Mangekyo Sharingans or Dojutsus, not having any Otsutsuki DNAs, just being a raw ninja. Ninjas in general just have high potentials. That's why you just shouldn't try to cap them. I said all that to say pretty much everyone has around the same potential, but the top 4 like Sarada, Boruto, Kawaki, and Mitsuki might grow at a faster rate and reach their goal quicker. That's not because, you know, they always have to be stronger or they're just most likely going to be stronger. That's just because they had extra gifts that aided them in reaching the top. The same has been true for Naruto and Sasuke, and the same is true for Boruto and Kawaki. It's just the way things are in every manga. On to the last reasoning. A lot of people don't really like this one because it's like, oh, it's kind of a cop-out. I don't really agree with that. I think it's perfectly fine because if you want stakes and you want actual fun in the manga, we can't just have threats that are weaker than the last. If Boruto was just full of threats that were all weaker than Madara, all weaker than Naruto, all weaker than everyone, we wouldn't really feel anything because like Naruto and Sasuke can always come in and save the day, and Boruto will never ever reach that tier that Naruto reached. This is just the issues with being a sequel of a manga. People will always say this, but the narrative just forces you to get stronger. This is true for JJK, this is true for Dragon Ball, this is true for Bleach, this is true for One Piece. As the story progresses and you have to have greater threats, your MCs and good characters have to get stronger. With all that being said, I hope the notion that, you know, power creep and Boruto don't make sense and power creep and power cliffing doesn't really mean anything in the story, you know, it's so bad, dies out. Because it's such a misinformed and dishonest viewpoint on the narrative and story of Boruto as a whole that it just takes all the fun away from power scaling. If you don't have a valid argument and it's just, oh, I feel this way or it shouldn't be this way, despite all the evidence presented in this video, have at it. I've did my best to try to convince you otherwise. If you agree, like, comment, subscribe. More videos on the way, and goodbye.